Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Chris Weidman, and thanks for checking out my channel. This is a highlight from my podcast, Won't Back Down. But before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to my podcast presenting sponsor, BioXcellerator. BioXcellerator is a world leader in stem cell therapy and regenerative medical research. Through the use of their powerful golden stem cells, they help patients heal from joint and orthopedic injuries, autoimmune disorders, spine and disc damage, and neurological trauma. I'm actually going to be going out to Medellin, Colombia in the end of August, and I'm super excited to get some of those treatments on my leg. Thanks again to BioXcellerator for helping me create Won't Back Down, which you could also find wherever you get your podcasts. So what made you want to come on the show so badly? What made not saying that like it was like the biggest show in the world, but like you actually reached out to me and it made perfect sense. I'm like, you know what? She would be great. You've had, well, first of all, like the injuries and everything you've been through. And even your full story of where you came from and, you know, everything that you've been through just as a girl in MMA from the beginning, I mean, is kind of crazy. So you have a crazy story that I feel like hasn't been told yet that I would love to get into. And then, all your injuries that you've been through a lot. And I know obviously what that's like, and you got the whole world, you know, criticizing you. They're watching you in that cage, you know, and if you have a bad night, you know, they're just crushing you, and you just gotta be able to stay confident somehow dealing with all that. It's not like we're playing baseball where you get to play the next night and make up for it. You know, you have to wait until like 6 months or a year until you heal, and then you get to prove it, you know?
I think the hardest part about my injury. So the reason why I really wanted to come on the show is because it's called Don't Back Down, right? Or
Won't Back Down, but yeah, same thing. It's same thing.
Your race song, your walkout song.
Yeah.
Won't Back Down.
Yeah.
And I knew that the message was about people who won't back down. And with your, you know, recent injury, which was very brutal, sad. But I think the good thing about your injury, if you want to take it with like silver lining, whatever, is that you did get to do it in front of the world. So now it's like you have people that have your back that are like invested in your story and want to follow your story. Mm-hmm. I tore my ACL and meniscus during, you know, practice. So it's like no one got to see it. And then you kind of feel like, you know, nobody cares about your story. Like you're kind of alone. I had to pull out of a fight, you know, because I tore my ACL and my meniscus, and it's hard, you know?
Absolutely. It's funny because, yeah, I am fully aware of that. Not just with you, but like this is my 24th surgery, and I've never had people care really. I had neck surgeries when I was a champion. No one gave a shit. They were mad that I wasn't fighting soon. And they were, you know, calling me, you know, whatever, all these different types of names. And it sucked that it sucks to have to just endure that type of criticism when it's like, bro, do you know what I'm going through right now? Like for you to tear your ACL, nobody sees it really. And you're going through all this rehab, you know, people don't really understand what you're going through, you know? And honestly, that's a big reason why I started this podcast, is because out of nowhere, I had all this love and support and people really rooting for me and saw me as like an inspiration, because I did have this super traumatic injury in front of everybody, and they knew that's not going to be easy to come back from. And I just have all this love now. And I'm like, you know what? I got to start a podcast to like bring people on that really their stories aren't being told, you know, and they're going through, if not, you know, most likely most of the people I've actually had on like worse things than me, you know? And it's like, I just want to bring it to light because, you know, I don't feel like I'm any more special than anybody else to get that type of love, but it just happened to be that way.
But I mean, if I was you, I would be, you know, I would be grateful for that love. You know, you feed off the energy. It's just like when you're fighting and you feed off the crowd. I mean, I've even seen all anybody could talk about from that night was, you know, your injury. And then all I saw was, you know, just everybody just worried about you and thinking about you and talking about you and praying for you. And I think, you know, that's, you know, a great thing. And I do wish I had that. I was a little jealous. Like, oh man, I wish I tore my ACL in front of millions of people.
I know.
Because then when your journey, the journey, like now my journey back has felt like alone, you know, you post all these like like knee surgery and recovery, it's boring. You know, people want to see the fight stuff. They want to see the fight training. They don't want to see you, oh, look, I bent my knee to 90 degrees today.
Yeah.
Oh, look, 12 months later, I'm allowed to squat. You know, it's boring.
Yeah. I know. And there's always somebody else, another fighter that's having a great fight during the weekend, you know, that is taking their eyes away from you. So there's just, as time goes on, it's just part of life, is you become less relevant as time goes on, until you're able to get into the octagon again, you know. But you know what? It's pretty much exactly how it's going to be when we're done fighting. You know, when you call it quits, it's like, you know, at that point, it's probably when you're most relevant, especially when in terms of MMA. You know, you could go on and do podcasts and, you know, commentary or whatever like that. But there's very few guys that really cross over that way. But for the most part, it's slowly, you know, less relevant, less people being excited, less people liking your Instagram posts and commenting. Yeah. That's kind of the life of an athlete, really. You know, it's a short-term thing, you know, all the love and all the praise and people being super excited to see you, you know, do what you love. It's short term, which is crazy. Yeah.
And you got to kind of find the mindset of like not really caring about what people think or not feeling. I think the hardest part for me has been, I identify as a fighter. I associate as a fighter. If I'm not a fighter, then who am I? You know, and I've been fighting for 18 years. And it's funny, actually, yesterday was the first time, I don't know if you've seen it, but
18 years. Gosh.
18 years.
Well, I want to go into that, but let's, finish your thought. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you've seen Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
The football movie. Yesterday was the first time I've ever seen it. I'd never seen it. And Booby tears his ACL. And I felt for him because there was a moment where he broke down in the cart and he's just bawling, crying to his uncle. And he's saying, what am I going to do now? All I'm good at is football. If I can't play football, then who am I? And I think that that's how fighters, athletes, anybody who does that one thing and does that one thing great, like, and that you're getting all this praise for. It's glamorous, you know, like people are praising you for it. And when you're taken out of that limelight, or when you even just can't do what you love, you feel like, who am I now?
Thanks for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please let us know in the comments below. Won't Back Down is also available as a podcast, so feel free to give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts.